Oh, aren't you lucky? You know, you don't have to put up with me in class, but now you have to put up with a video of me, okay? You have my sympathy. All I really want to do on this video is try to hit some of the highlights of what I put in in the lesson that I have for you. And if you go to Moodle, I did a recap of what we talked about in class on Friday. Um, and making sure that you understand that we are talking about writing as a process, okay? Making sure that you understand that writing is not going to be a one and done for you. And so in class on Friday, and I have that outlined for you in the first lesson on Moodle there, class on Friday, what we did is we made a list of everything we saw in the classroom, and then we went from there to talking about writing as a process, a series of steps, okay? And so I told you our first step is going to be idea gathering, which we will refer to as pre-writing, and your listing of all the things that you saw in the classroom was one kind of pre-writing. We also did a sample of clustering where we used pollution as a sample, okay? And then we went in different directions from there, you know? And then we also talked about the idea of journaling, which is really a little more than putting down a bunch of different idea blurbs, okay? So, excuse me. So we talked about that. We did that pre-writing, and then you took that pre-writing and you organized it. Okay, after you had that whole list done, I asked you to look back over it and figure out what order you might talk about the things from your list in. Okay, would you go from the little things to the big things? Because if you remember when we were writing the things from the list on the board, some people picked out very small things, like my bunch of writing, the pens that I write on the board with. Somebody put that down, and somebody picked out a plug. And the first one we had, I think, was the clock, And then later on, somebody talked about somebody mentioned the windows, which obviously are pretty big things, And I think somebody mentioned the door and the whiteboard, which obviously dominates the room, But that wasn't something that hit some people first, but it does hit other people first. So there isn't a right and wrong way to do this, and there isn't a right and wrong way to describe the room, okay? What I want to make sure you understand is there is a right and wrong way to go about writing, and pre-writing, gathering ideas, and then organizing those ideas is the first step in the right way to do a good piece of writing, okay? So, and this is a way that all of you are going to be writing at least for a time. And then the next step in that, of course, is the rough draft, which you are supposed to have done for this coming Wednesday, the day that we should have gotten together again in class, but with my wife's surgery, we won't be, obviously. And that's why you're having the great joy of sitting through this video. So in rough draft, I'm emphasizing the idea of rough. And that's exactly what it should be, is rough. I'm emphasizing the idea that you should write as quickly as possible. You should not stop to think about things like, is this a sentence or not? You should not stop to think about, how do you spell that word? You should not stop to think about, do I need a comma here? Or do I need a period here? You should not think about those things in your rough draft, because your rough draft is supposed to be creative, okay? Your rough draft is supposed to be using that part of the brain that's creativity. It's and by stopping to look at kinds of things that I just mentioned, grammar, spelling, structure, punctuation, all of those kinds of things. How should I say this best? All of those kinds of things, okay? that causes you to shut down creativity. And right now we're working on creativity. Okay. So you want your mind to run. You want it to go and you want to just write and write and write as rapidly as you can. And that's why I'm saying write your rough draft fast. Okay. Then in Wednesday's class, this coming Wednesday's class, I have that spelled out for you pretty clearly, I think pretty clearly, in the second Moodle lesson that I put up there. And I put the date of Wednesday, September 8th on there, I believe. Okay. So go through that carefully. That's why I encourage you to start being analytical, to start thinking about, do you have things like specifics? Okay. Vague generalities don't get your reader there. You want to get your reader into that classroom. Okay. So you want to get to specifics. And in those specifics, you want to get to details. Okay. You want as many details as you need to make that as specific as possible so your reader can get a real mental image of what you're doing. Okay. That's a big part of what this step is all about, is making sure you have specifics. First of all, you want to make sure you're saying something, of course, okay? And without specifics and details, you're not communicating. You're not saying anything, okay? So those things all go together, you know? And then I talk about essay structure. So in your rough draft, in your first revision, which is where you're going after your rough draft, you start to think about, okay, what's a good way to get into this? And what am I really trying to do? Am I trying to go, and like, am I going to paint this picture of the room from the front to the back, or from the little things to the big things, or from the big things to the little things, or from side to side, or from ceiling to floor? How am I going to paint this picture? How am I going to make all of my readers, or any of my readers, really see what this is all about? Okay, because that's what I want my readers to be able to do, is really see what this room looks like. Okay, so that's your first revision. And again, I detailed that out for you in that lesson. Okay, so it's there on Moodle, but I don't want you to enter it on Moodle. I want you to, on Friday, when I see you again down in room 30, I want you to bring your pre-writing organized, your rough draft that you're doing for Wednesday, and your first revision that you're doing for Friday. Okay, so bring each of those with you. You can handwrite all of that. You can do it on your computer if you want to, but bring printouts of each one. So if you do it on your computer or word processor or whatever it is you use, iPad, that's what my wife is, iPad, yeah. If you do it there, that's not a bad way, because of course it's pretty easy to do revisions on there too. So if you want to do that, that's okay. But print out each one. Don't just email them to me. I don't love reading essays on email. Sometimes we may have to do that, because sometimes you may be in a situation where you just can't get to me. But I don't love that, Okay, so anyway, that stuff's all spelled out for you. You have my phone number. You have my text number. I'm here for you. Feel free to contact me. Kind of like the only time I won't be really free to talk to you is, when I'm taking care of my wife after her surgery, I guess, and we don't even know exactly when that's going to be. So have no qualms about talking to me. If you try to call me and I don't answer, then leave a voicemail. Please leave a voicemail, okay, and I will get back to you. Okay, so questions, you know where to get me, how to get me. We're off and running. Don't worry about perfect handwriting. This is only pre-writing, rough draft, first revision. You have more to do, more revisions than that coming up in your future till we get this to a really good piece of writing. Okay, so you guys have a good rest of the week, and have fun. I'll see you soon.